Hello, welcome back. I'm Gary Steele, the creator of the Guaranteed Happiness Formula. In this video, I'm going to share with you the two most valuable questions that you can ask yourself to immediately start transforming your levels of happiness in your life today. You may have heard this statement, the quality of the questions that you ask determine the quality of your life. I like to say the outcome of your life is dictated by the questions that you ask. If you go to any Barnes & Noble, any big bookstore like that, and you go to the personal development or the self-help section, you're going to find books like Think and Grow Rich, The Power of the Mind, The Magic of Believing, The Power of Positive Thinking, and The Secret. The underlying theme of all of these books can be summed into two sentences. What you think about comes about, and what you focus on expands. What you think about comes about, and what you focus on expands. As we move through this short video, I'm going to refer to that many times, and I really want you to understand that is the key. That is one of the most fundamental keys to beginning to transform your levels of happiness, is understanding what it is that you think about and what are the questions that you ask yourself. In this video, we're going to go through some science, we're going to go through a little bit of quantum physics, and we're going to talk about frozen light and how it relates to quantum physics and how that actually relates to your levels of happiness. When we're done with this video, you can go to Google and enter frozen light and quantum physics, those two terms together in the search bar, and you will get pages and pages and pages of information to read on frozen light if you want to. Now, frozen light, this idea of frozen light, quantum physics has determined beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything in existence is light. It's just vibrating at a different frequency. Frozen light. Now at this point you might be asking yourself, what in the world does frozen light have to do with my levels of happiness? And we're going to get to that as we go through this, so just hang with me. Frozen light. Everything is light vibrating at a different frequency. So the wave of life. I call this the wave of light. It's the light wave. It's a quantum. It is the wave of life. I've been teaching workshops now 15 years, and you can see my drawing's not very good. I'm not a very good artist. And as you're going to see, my spelling is horrendous, and my handwriting's even worse. And it hasn't gotten any better after 15 years. So I warn you now, as we create our relationship here on the road of the Guaranteed Happiness Formula owners, my handwriting's horrible, just so you know. So this is a wave. This is the wave of life. This is a light wave. This is a quantum. And quantum simply means a unit of one. So this is one wavelength. This is one quantum. This is one frequency. This is one wavelength of light. Within any one wavelength of light, or any one quantum, the positive peak and the negative trough are perfectly balanced. The very next wavelength could have a bigger wave or a shorter wave, but the positive peak and the negative trough are still going to be perfectly balanced to each other. And again, you might be saying, what does that have to do with happiness, man? Well, as we go here, you're going to understand it. We come along and we look at every person, place, thing, situation, and event, and it actually sits here having both sides in its existence. It exists having both sides. We come along, all of us do this, we come along and we choose to see either more negatives than positives, and we'll call this bad or wrong, or we choose to see more positives than negatives, and we call it good or right. We all do this. It's instantaneous, and it's based on our values, what's important to us. We either see it as wrong or right. So now remember, what we think about comes about, and what we focus on expands. So we come along, draw a little stick figure here, a little person. We come along and we see more negatives than positives, and we focus down here, and we see the negatives, so we become sad, mad, disappointed, and depressed. We become a sad Sally or a sad Sam. Why? Because we're ignoring the whole other side of what is going on in our world, and we're seeing only down here. So the first question that you can begin to ask yourself immediately and start transforming your life, start transforming the levels of happiness in your life, is what's the other side? What is the other side? So when we now choose to see more positives than negatives, we get in that over-elated state. We get in that over-infatuated state. We get in that, oh, it's so great, grand, and glorious state. And what we truly want to do is see both sides together. We want to be able to step back and see it with a big enough vision that we see both the positives and the negatives in the same moment, which allows us to come to the center, which is what I call your heart zone. The center, this is where your love lives, your inspiration lives, this is where your wisdom lives, and it's in the center, and you come there by seeing both sides. And this is what happens for people at our Beyond Happiness event. They get to dissolve this to the center, and they have an experience of their heart. For many people, it's the first time ever that they're able to experience their heart, what's truly in their heart, to those degrees, to those levels. So you want to be able to step back, see both sides. Because my birth mother went crazy and committed suicide when I was 22 months old, that actually gave me the opportunity to be raised by my stepmother and my alcoholic father. And as I learned this work and began to understand it and created this guaranteed happiness formula, this was the first step that I took. I started to ask, what's the other side to this? What's the other side to what I thought was my childhood was one way down here? And I began to, what's the other side? And I began to see differently. And because of this, I was able to create a relationship with my stepmother and my father and my stepsister. I wouldn't trade those. I wouldn't trade being raised by my stepmother and my father for anything in the world. And it's all because of this, being able to see the other side. So as we journey in life, all of us do this, and I do this too. We all do this. It's instantaneous. Our mind is generated, its power, by questions. It's constantly questioning. We never stop questioning. But there is an instantaneous question that almost all of us ask, or it happens in our mind automatically, and that is, we look down here, and the question that we ask instantly is, what is wrong with my life? What is wrong with my life? So we focus here, and we get sad, we get mad, we get disappointed, and we get depressed. Those are all choices based on what we focus on and what we think about. Because remember, what we think about comes about, and what we focus on expands. So if we maintain our focus down here, we get sad, mad, disappointed, and depressed. Has that ever happened for you? Have you ever focused down here, and later you had an event, and you were here, and later down the road, it could be years down the road, whatever, you began to realize maybe there was some other side to it, and it was no longer as horrible as you thought it was. That's kind of the normal pattern. What happens for people is time heals all, right? So how about this question? What's right with my life? This is the most valuable question that you can begin to ask yourself right now, today. If you're being sad, mad, disappointed, or depressed, change your focus. What's the other side? Ask yourself the question, what's right with my life? When I'm in places where I'm feeling down, I'm feeling a little sad, under the weather, I'm having a down cycle, I'll just ask myself, what's right with my life? And it always takes me to my kids. Always. I have 3 kids. I treasure them. I love them. I would not trade having had the opportunity to be their father for anything. When I ask what's right with my life, it always brings me back to my kids, brings me back to the center, and I'm able to have a heart moment for my life. What's right with my life? So how does this play a role in your life? How can this play a role in your life? How can this begin to help you transform your life and transform it more and more into what you love, which lives in the center? How does that work? Every time that you go to work and you ask yourself the question, what's right with my life, or what's the other side, and you come to the center experience, you are able to have gratitude for your life. And your attitude of gratitude determines your altitude. Determines the altitude, the levels of happiness that you can generate in your life are determined by how much stuff are you thankful for in your life. That's what happens when you start asking what's right with my life. The way that I can serve you most in what it is that we're learning here is for you to leave a question in the comment box down below. Ask me a question about anything that's going on in your life that you're having trouble seeing the other side. You can't quite find the other side. That's what I've been able to help so many people over the years do, is see the other side. Feel free to ask me a question in the comment box below on something that is your greatest challenge or your greatest struggle. Now, I know it might be hard for some of you to want to share that out in the open, and that's okay. If you don't want to share that, you don't need to. But for those of you that do have the courage to share, this could be the first step for you in helping you begin to generate greater degrees of happiness in your life. The next video coming is called Transformation. And I'm going to help you in that video begin to find even greater degrees, greater levels of happiness through this idea of transformation. I want to thank you for taking the time for stopping by my website today. It's absolutely a privilege for me to be able to share this material with you. Again, please ask me a question, and I will answer all the questions that I can get to in the comment box, and I will address the most common ones in the next video. I'll see you on the next video.